In our application, we want to tap an item and we want to do something. And because we are using a recycler view, which is different from a list view, we don't have the method on item click listener. So we don't know when we are clicking in an element. So for that, we have to implement the on item click listener ourselves. And to achieve that, we are going to make use of the design pattern, the observer. The observer is a pattern that consists in two elements. One is the observer slash listener, which is waiting for an event. And the other element is the subject that is going to perform the event. So in a practical way, in an example, what we are going to do is create an interface in our adapter which is going to be our click listener. The interface is going to define the events that we want to send. So what we want is a method, is an event called on item click. And this is this is going to send the item, which is in this case is a post. So the interface is just going to define this. We could add as many methods as we want in our interface. Now the class waiting for the listeners is going to be our main activity. So our main activity is going to implement this interface, which is inside the class Reddit adapter and is called myListItem click listener. So once we implement this, we get a warning that says you need to implement the method of this interface. So we implement the methods. And now that we are implementing on item clicked, what is going to happen is when I send an event click, this method is going to be called. So what I want to do is open a website, a web view in this case, with the link. Okay, but we are going to leave this for later. First, we are going to continue with the implementation of the pattern. So now that we have defined the main activity as the observer, as the listener, we need to tell the adapter that the adapter needs to send the events to this class. So for that, in the adapter, we need to create a listener. So it's going to be an object of the type this item click listener, and it's going to be called listener. So this listener is going to come in the constructor as a parameter. Okay, so basically when I create the object Reddit adapter on the main activity, I'm going to have to send the listener. In the creation of the Reddit adapter, I need to send this instance of the class. So I'm going to send main activity.this. I am sending this twice. I could just send it once, but I am going to keep it in two so it's clear for everyone that one is the context and another one is the implementation of the pattern. Okay, so as you can see on this method, this is getting three parameters. One is the post list, second is the context, and the third one is the listener. And in this case, the context and the listener are the same. So now that we have the listener, what we can do is listener dot on item click, because on item click is a method defined in the interface of the listener. So when do we have to send the event? We have to send the event when someone clicks on the list. So for that, the view holder is going to implement the view on click listener, and we are going to implement the method. So the view holder is implementing the Android click listener, and when we receive the click listener, then we are going to tell our listener that we have a click. So in our click, we need to send the item click. How do we know this? Well, we have a list of items, which is post list, and we know that the one selected here is get position. So what's happening? We are clicking a view holder. We are clicking a view inside the list. This view is calling the Android on click listener, and then we are calling our method on item click, sending post that has been clicked. So now we can test this. So for testing it, we are just going to show here the message. So toast make test. The content can be made activity at this, and the message is going to be item click, and we are going to add also the item click title. Show at the end. Okay. Now before testing it, I just need one small thing. On the adapter, if we want the Android method on click to be called, we need to set the click listener to the view. So item view set on click listener this. As you can see, this, the Android on click listener, is basically the same implementation of the pattern that we are doing. We are defining one method on item click, but for Android the definition was on click and it's sending a view instead of a post. So we have to implement that method and we have to set the listener. It's basically the same that we are doing. So now we are ready to test it. And if this works, we have our own recycler view with our own view holder and our own click listener. It's a bit more complex than the previous Android list view, but it allows us to have more flexibility. So we can have different kind of click listeners. We can have different kind of view holders. So now I click and I see that the item click is the same one. I'm going to try a few. Okay, I click on Queen and I see item click Queen. Perfect. Now we are ready to create a web view and open this content in a web view.